Okay, peacemakers and mediators, if you're a type 9 and you have an addicted loved one, then here's where your strengths and where your weaknesses may come. It's going to be a little easier for a type 9 to have empathy for someone, even someone that's making bad choices, because type 9s are just really good at that. They're really good at seeing things from another person's point of view. So type 9s are less likely to be judgmental, threatening, nagging, or harsh with an addicted person, which is good because those things definitely push the problem in all the wrong directions. But on the other side, they tend to be so non-confrontational that they may let someone very close to them do some really bad things for a really long time and just not want to address it. And so if you're a type 9 and your spouse is addicted to drugs and alcohol, you may not want to confront them or draw a line with them. And I've even had a lot of people tell me who are trying to get into recovery and their spouse is a type 9, that it's almost like, I wish they would hold the limit with me because sometimes I need them to be strong when I can't be strong. So just remember, sometimes your loved one really does inside, they want you to say, no, I'm not going to the store and buying you a bottle of alcohol or whatever it is, because sometimes they're going to run out of willpower and they're going to need you to be there and hold that line for them. And that comes from a very loving and caring place. But sometimes they need you to be the strong one, even if it's tough and even if they're going to argue with you. And if the addicted person in your life happens to be your child and you have a spouse, then your spouse might be frustrated with you because they might feel like you're always playing the good guy and that you're undermining their parenting and circumventing what's trying to happen. So just remember that even though it may feel like that you're helping this other person, this addicted person, sometimes you might be enabling them. So when I'm working with parents and one of them's a type 9 and one of them's not, which is usually the case, if you got two type 9s, man, that's a real tough situation, is that it's very important for you to be honest with yourself, not to minimize the situation or avoid the situation. Be honest with yourself about what's happening there. Don't just ignore the problem because you don't want to deal with the anxiety and the complications that come from acknowledging the issue. Because the thing that's most likely to happen to type 9s with an addicted loved one is you're going to fall too far into the good guy role, or at least into the I'm just going to ignore it and not deal with it role. And this whole family recovery process is going to require you to sort of step up, decide where you stand on a situation, and draw some healthy boundaries. It's the right thing to do for yourself, for your loved one, and for the whole rest of your family. Sometimes if you have a type 9 in a leadership position, like maybe the head of the household or a parent or the spouse, when they need to be the leader, a lot of times they'll avoid those conflicts and they won't fight the good fight. They won't fight with the people around them. But sometimes that means that everyone else around them has to fight those fights because they won't stand up and say, hey, here's where I stand on this issue. And maybe if this is your child that's addicted, you want to stand up to your spouse and say, hey, I think you're being too hard on them and I think it's making it worse. So it's not just stand up in this way, but it's about being honest with your boundaries and not holding back and not being so scared of that conflict.